Hello.
Woo, we made it.
Yeah, technical difficulties.
Yes.
We're good.
The building got hit by a bus that was full of spiders. And there's still spiders everywhere. Actually, you can't see I'm not wearing pants. My legs are just covered in spiders. So sorry about that, all you spiders, because it's pretty weird down there.
Speaking of spiders, you guys see that thing on Twitter where they had like a giant sex party and there's just like a bunch of web everywhere?
But where were the spiders?
I don't know. They were covered in spider web.
No, I didn't see that. The other day, when I woke up, I was opening something up outside, and I hit this like spider web, and you see the little spider dude. It's like, oh shit! I was like, sorry, spider dude, you're not eating today. You ruined your whole day. But how's everybody doing? Happy Friday again. Apologies for being late. There are very few spiders compared to what I just said. Almost none. Just like 3 or 4, and they're all on Audrey. But yeah, we had a couple technical difficulties resulting from it's real busy here. It sounds like my mic is off. Well, that's some bullshit, isn't it? Let me see here. My mic appears to be on, but it fell. Well, there you go. That would explain that. Thank you, sound check crew.
Did you guys hear the story about the spiders in the bus?
Yeah, and the spider sex party, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys. In any case, yeah, there's a lot of spiders. No, but apologies for the technical difficulties. Obviously, still having them with the mic and me dropping the mic, which wrapped around my leg, so that's good. But yeah, we were in the process because it's the Rach show. We want to be able to show you my screen on my laptop. So that I can actually show you our dashboard and kind of some of our thinking as we do this. And that's like a couple of seconds to get hooked up, and then we knocked everything over. And then Jamar had to go get on a phone call. So, yeah, I dropped my mic.
I have to step in here for a second.
Oh, and Jamar's coming, so everybody be cool.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Jamar. Oh, he's just, oh, sorry, it's just on the, I put it on the ground because I'm an asshole. How's everybody doing? Merlin, thank you for the 2-month sub. Barry, nice to see you. Claptagon, Zan Attacks. Diction, always a pleasure, my friend. Yeah, we got a wild Jamar appearing. Hopefully he doesn't knock anything over. How you doing, Audrey? It's nice to see everybody. Happy Friday. It has been a very busy week here at OP Group, but I'm excited to be back on office hours after, I don't know how long it's been. It seems like forever. Just with travel and Gamescom and PAX, and then I got sick at stupid PAX, which was awesome. So, overall 10 out of 10. But yeah, so today we want to talk through a few different things, right? The first one is a couple of announcements. As I just posted in the chat, we have signed 2 new clients, and this is our 49th and 50th client. So I'm really proud to say that we now represent 50 broadcasters, which is a huge milestone for us. To think we started this company a few years ago with just 2 guys, Co Carnage and Elohim, and obviously fantastic people to start with, right? But way back then, if you'd asked me if we were going to have 50 clients and 15 employees and a big office and all this crazy stuff, I would have laughed and said, no, streaming probably won't ever be that big. But yeah, it is. It's incredible. So we signed Tiger Writer, who hopefully some of you folks know. If not, you definitely need to check him out.
Okay.
What's happening? Does Zach need to talk?
Yes.
Zach needs to talk. So Zach, why don't you tell us who our other client we just signed is?
DJ Tech Live.
Well done. DJ Tech Live and I have known each other for years. I actually went on a very strange trip to South Korea with him one time to broadcast the Blade and Soul World Championships, which was really just a surreal event. In general, there was a musical with like a rap battle, several rap battles in it. There was a hoedown, and yeah, DJ Tech Live was there the whole time. So DJ Tech Live is joining us as a content producer, which you guys may be familiar with. It was a strategy we started a few months ago, maybe 5 or 6 months ago. We signed 4 people. We signed Sir Slaw, Caliverse,
Frisk.
and
Danotage.
Yeah, that was a test. Definitely not that I'm really tired.
Sorry.
Yeah, Frisk, Caliverse, Danotage, and Sir Slaw. The idea being that we wanted to be able to work with some smaller streamers. It's always been a little bit difficult for us because, and we'll talk about this a lot on the show today, companies don't always want to work with smaller streamers. A lot of times they want to work with just really large streamers. And the reality of the industry is that smaller streamers almost always are more effective at getting the message out. It's just that they have smaller audiences, so you have to work with more of them to get kind of the same result. But we've had a lot of success with the content producer program, with those folks sort of going above and beyond and doing really cool stuff in addition to just doing sponsored work. And so because of that, we've decided to start expanding the program out a little bit with DJ Tech Live. And I don't know, I'm just really excited. Yeah, Tiger Writer is a great dude. I've known him for a long time as well, several years at this point. And let's see, can you say more about why smaller streamers are better at getting the word out? Absolutely, Coco the Louder. That's a great question. And just first a reminder that if you have questions about anything, anything at all, feel free to just ask them in the chat. And you can also ask them on Twitter at AskOPG. Man, AskOPG. And we will try to answer them on the show. So can we talk about why smaller streamers are better at getting the word out? Yes, there are a few reasons. One of them is, it really kind of makes sense, right? If you are trying to get 2 people to remember something, like 2 of your friends, you have them in the room, and you're like, hey, let me tell you XYZ. Then you're only talking to 2 people, so you have a really easy ability to chat with them. Now, if you have 100 people in that room, it's really hard to make sure they're both paying, or all 100 of them are paying attention. The guys in the background on their phones, or they're playing video games, or just spinning around in their chair. Somebody fell asleep. It's just, and it's like that on Twitch. When you have 10 viewers, 50 viewers, 100 viewers, the streamer tends to have a better relationship with them. They know them more personally, right? It's true here, right? Like Office Hours is a pretty small stream. We see a lot of the same folks every week, which is awesome. And we get to know them, Vox Nostra, Mr. McStabby, Xanattax. A lot of folks come in every week. And because of that, we build a special relationship with them. And Diction. Diction's here a lot. We love Diction. And if we had 10,000 people watching, then in addition to Coco's question, there would be 300 questions at the same time.
Right.
And the chat would be scrolling super fast, and it's a lot harder to keep up with everybody and make sure you see all the questions or talk to everybody.
Especially as a streamer, there's just so much going on too. Like, you could be really focused on a game. It's hard to communicate with like more than like 200 people alone when you have like so much going on.
Absolutely. And because of that, and it's not to say that bigger streamers are worse, but in a larger stream, right, like you see a lot more people that are just, they're watching like passively while they're at work, things like that. There's just a lot more, or there's a lot less personal engagement than there is with a bigger or with a smaller streamer. So in general, what we look at when we talk about engagement is like a click-through rate or something. So if you post a link in the chat, how many people are going to click on it? Now in a big stream, or not how many, but what percentage is the important thing. So in a big stream, you're going to have a smaller percentage of people click on it than in a small stream because people are just paying less attention. You know, more people are on their phones or they're not looking at chat. You know, you can't really tell. But a smaller streamer, because they know those people, are like, guys, you know, I want to talk to you about this product that, you know, we're working with, or this game or this link. You know, I just want you to check it out. Like, please go check it out. And your audience is right there, so they pay more attention. So they tend to be higher engaged because the streamer knows them a little bit better. You see better results. And unfortunately, there's a trade-off for companies, right? Because a company has a very difficult time typically working with live streamers. It's hard to find the right people, and it's hard to organize the whole thing. That's why our company exists, is because I was at, you know, Sony, and I had trouble organizing things with live streamers because a lot of them are disorganized, or, you know, they don't know how contracts work, or there's just a lot of things that kind of mess things up. People forget, you know, what time they're supposed to do something, that kind of thing. So when you work at a company, you typically have had a fair amount of bad experiences like this with streamers, where they either don't get back to you, or it's just a mess, or whatever. So if you have the option of working with, let's say, 3 big live streamers, like, you know, 3 people the size of Co, you know, that are going to get you like 30,000 average viewers total, or, you know, 100 people that, you know, are smaller but would also get you 30,000 people. The amount of organization you have to do and the amount of selection work you have to do is really high comparatively, and people just say, like, let me just do the easy thing here. Let me just work with a couple of people, and, you know, that's exactly Kpoptosis. Everybody's used to third-party pixels and CTRs, which don't gel with Twitch and live streams. And that might sound like a foreign language to you guys. So let me explain very briefly what that means, because that's some high-level marketing shit. So we talk about third-party pixels, right? Have you ever noticed when you go to a website like, you know, the local ASPCA or something, and you get like a Destiny ad, and you're just like, how did Destiny know to freaking advertise to me on, and this literally happened to me. I went, you know, I was like looking at cute dogs, and it's like, do you want to buy Destiny 2? And it's just like, how did you find me? Well, I'll tell you how they find you. It's what's called pixels. So in advertising, like when you go to a website can embed something called a pixel, you know, and it's just a little piece of data. It's like a cookie, basically, and it tells you, or it tells the advertising company that put the pixel there that you visited the site. So maybe I went to Amazon and I searched for Destiny 2. So now advertisers know I'm interested in Destiny 2. Well, Amazon knows I'm interested in Destiny 2. So I go to Facebook, and Amazon has done what's called a retargeting ad. So instead of just hoping for the best, right? Like putting up an ad for a gas station. It's like, well, I hope you like gas, because you know, like, I don't know anything about you. Now they know that I'm interested in Destiny 2, so they say, well, it'll probably be a more effective ad if I show you Destiny 2 because you went to that web page. So that's what Kpoptosis is talking about. Third-party pixels, and, you know, the CTR is like click-through rate. And, you know, those tools give marketers much better ability to track what's going on, and it's very frustrating for marketers because Twitch does not give people a lot of tools for that kind of marketing, like the traditional way of tracking things. Hey man, how you doing? And yeah, Destiny 2 dog DLC coming soon. Well, if only. Yeah, I mean, Destiny does need more cute dogs. Most things do.
Definitely.
Hey Jake, how you doing? And so these kind of like more sophisticated marketing tools don't work as well on Twitch. So when marketers are faced with the reality of, you know, it's like, I can't tell what's going on, you know, compared to like Google ads or Facebook ads or things like that, they tend to simplify, right? They want to take less risks. They want to do things they understand. What do they understand? Well, they understand big streamers are big, right? It's like, well, this guy Ninja is on the cover of a magazine, and, you know, everybody's talking about him, so he must be good. You know, instead of having data to prove it, they kind of go with their gut. You know, it's like if I was making a movie and I'm not a casting director, so I don't really know a lot, I'm going to say, well, get me Brad Pitt, get me Tom Cruise, because I know who they are. Like, those are big names. Same is true of Twitch, right? I often joke, you could put a gun to the head of the average marketing executive, and you'd be lucky if they could name 3 live streamers. And that's generally true. You know, maybe getting a little better now, and obviously I don't put a lot of guns to people's heads. But yeah, like Mr. McStabby says, and you know, obviously you can see something about people's interests here. Nearly every website I go to these days has ads for body armor.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
so you start to see the things that you were actually looking for will appear in ads more often, and it is like, trust me, because I've purchased them as a marketer.
Yeah.
It is way more effective.
It's very effective.
Yeah.
Like, it follows you around. It's kind of like if you were interested in something, and like like what you were interested was a ghost, and they literally like followed you to your home and
Yeah.
haunted you for the rest of your life until you bought that ghost.
Yeah. Well, that is a problem that I'm having with the ghost that follows me around. He keeps saying I need to atone for things I did in the past. But I don't know. How much data does Twitch even give to streamers? Do they give a good representation of viewers, return rate, etc.? That's a really good question. And if you go back a little while, they gave almost no information to streamers. And Jake, thank you for the bits. Really appreciate that. Yeah, guy on the left has camouflage on, so he is invisible. Yeah. So you go back a couple of years, and the information that Twitch gave broadcasters was really poor. You know, you got a graph, basically just a graph that would show you, you know, you could switch up between a few different things, like what your average viewership was on a day, how many, man, what else was on there? It's like how many video views you got that day, which is a statistic that is very hard to define what that means. A couple other things. And they added like what basic country, you know, somebody comes from or what region they come from. But since Twitch bought Curse about a year ago, the former CEO of Curse has taken over the project of surfacing data to streamers. So they now give much better data than they did, and you know, a lot of different like summaries and reports. They show you where your traffic is coming from, and it's constantly a work in progress. It's actually really cool. If you, like, for me, I can literally text that guy and say, hey, I need this kind of data. How do I get it? And you know, he'll be like, hey, fuck you, we don't have that anywhere. Like, but do you need that built? Like, is that something that you want? And so it's really cool that, you know, after he yells at me for a few minutes, that they do actually listen and they're trying to build things. It's just one of the bazillion things Twitch is trying to do at any given time. So there have been a lot of third-party companies because Twitch has an API, and we use this too, and we'll show you a little bit of it during the show. But Twitch has an API that anybody can plug into, and they can get the data from Twitch, and it's actually a fair amount of data that you can pull out of that on all sorts of things. So it's much better than what Twitch actually surfaces to broadcasters. But yeah. Is Twitch Tracker a good source of data for Twitch? I don't use, so we have our own internal tracking tool, and so we're kind of spoiled, and we don't use a lot of third parties, but I don't, does anyone in the chat have any experience with Twitch Tracker?
I know some of the publicly available tools are like Twinge, but you know, there's just a ton out there that work. And I think like some work different than others, and it just really depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm just going to go to, well, assuming I can type it, I'm just going to go to Twitch Tracker real quick and see what it looks like. Channels, games, global statistics. Yeah, this looks like a pretty cromulent website.
It's showing, I think it showed peak viewers, average viewers,
Yeah.
follower counts.
Yeah, it's showing some good stuff. I don't know, Audrey, if you could put it up on the screen. We can show it to you real quick. Okay, it's up. Yeah, I just don't see it. We don't see it. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty nice, right? It actually shows you a fair amount of data, who's online, that sort of thing, what the top channels are, what the titles
I
are.
think there's a top broadcasts actually.
Yeah, here's the top streams, and then my guess is then top games for last month. Yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, hard to say how accurate their data is just by looking at it for 5 seconds, but My guess is that they're using the Twitch API. So if we go to click on old Soda Poppin' and see if there we go. Yeah. So yeah, it's a pretty good amount of data. So this is probably a pretty good place to be looking. Let's see. Is Twitch doing outreach to help marketing industry understand the commercial value represented by the metrics they make available to streamers? Is that left to companies like OPG? Twitch definitely does that. They have a whole advertising and sales component, right? Like when you get served an ad because you don't subscribe to the channel. Oh, no, you still get served ads, right? That's the old thing.
Yeah.
But if you don't have Twitch Turbo, right, Audrey just brought like a second window of us into the monitor. So it's like, what happened? Yeah, so, you get served ads on Twitch, right? So those ads come from somewhere. Somebody bought them. So Twitch sold those ads, right? So Twitch is going out and pitching companies on why it's important to work with Twitch. What do you get by working with Twitch? Same is true for YouTube. And so they have a pretty robust set of arguments that they make for why it's valuable. Now, the thing that Twitch struggles with is defining why it's valuable for an individual broadcaster to be doing something on the stream. Like when I play a game, I switch over and now I'm playing Overwatch. And people are buying copies of Overwatch because I'm playing it and I'm like, God, this game's awesome and I'm doing cool shit and whatever. I mean, I definitely wouldn't. Zach might be better. But some amount of people are going to buy Overwatch because I'm streaming it and because I'm talking about it and I'm showing it to them. Some amount of people who had bought Overwatch before but stopped playing it are going to go, Overwatch is fun. Like maybe I can get into a game with Omid, so I'll play it again. So there's a lot of value that companies get out of working, having people stream their games, but Twitch itself is not fantastic at proving out that argument. They're getting better at it, right? Like the bounty board is giving them a really good excuse to do that because they're now turning the content into sort of an advertising unit the way that they do it. But that is something that agencies do really well. And it's something that, we occasionally do. Like we're not an agency, so we don't go out and like pitch companies on like why you should work with everybody. The companies come to us and say, we want to work with CoCarnage, or we want to work with Diction, or we want to work with some of your streamers because, but we just don't know which ones. But yeah, when you're going out, because I used to do this for other companies, right? You go out and you pitch your service and explain what it is. And so yeah, like agencies will explain. It's like this many people are going to be watching. It's going to have, if they have the data, this much of a click-through rate. Here's a case study. Here's like one that I like to use is CoCarnage when the first day he announced his sponsorship with GOG, he actually crashed the GOG platform.
Oh, yeah.
Because, so many people tried to add him as a friend that, the platform hadn't been conceived to deal with that. So it like broke.
Yeah, I saw that stream. Like, I think he was streaming and he had like the overlay showed up and like you would just see like nonstop friend requests and it was just like lagging out his GOG platform. Yeah, it was hilarious. Or, there was a time that he announced his coffee roast with Madrinas called Kofi. And he sold so much coffee that they actually didn't have enough bags, to cover the pre-sales. They had to go order more. So, marketers will use examples like that where they don't have the best data to say, here's what can happen. It paints the picture. Like Co also, just to keep talking about Co, did a sponsored stream of 2 Point Hospital a few weeks ago, the day before it came out. And so he was the only thing that was really going on that day for 2 Point Hospital, and he crashed the 2 Point Hospital website. Now, as a big company, you understand like what your web capacity is or what the web capacity of Sega is, right? It's pretty good. So to hear that someone like Co, who is a big streamer, by himself with nothing else going on, could drive so much traffic to your website that it crashes, right there you can start to say, oh, I get it. Like, that is worth something. Now, we do a lot of other ways to define this down, and we'll show you some of it during this broadcast. But in general, marketers are starting to get better at understanding why Twitch has value. But
agencies and Twitch are still trying to tell the story in a way that is more compelling. And they're getting better at it every year. You know, you've probably noticed in 2018, there's a lot more sponsored streams happening. You know, so we're certainly noticing that it's probably more like double or triple last year. And a lot of that is because companies, I mean, obviously companies have decided to spend more money on Twitch. Why did they do that? Because more companies now believe it's a good place to spend money and it's a way to get good results. And so all of these things are coming about because of education, because of companies like agencies, Twitch, showing people like how it works, helping them understand. You know, like I'm old enough that I remember when Amazon was launched, right? So probably before you were born. You know, and when Amazon was launched and they said, yeah, we're gonna sell books on the internet. And everybody's like, you're gonna sell things on the internet? Are you high? Like, it's like, I'm gonna buy something on the internet? I'm gonna put my credit card into the internet? Like, I thought it was just for porn. Like, and, you know, that was just literally what everybody thought for a while. And then, you know, I remember the first time I used Amazon, I was like nervous. I was like, am I gonna get my book? Like, maybe I should just spend this money on porn. But no, I was like, how does this work? Am I gonna get my book? Like, what happens if my book doesn't get here? You know, like you just don't know anything about it, so it's scary. And then my book came. The book, Nickgasm, was a little novel called Fight Club. Was my first purchase on Amazon. And yeah, like, but over time, right? Like you use Amazon a couple of times. Like today, right? Like people from Amazon come to my house, like leave stuff on my door when I'm not there. They deliver me like groceries, like, you know, all this crazy stuff happens and we don't think anything of it. You know, someone made the joke about Uber a while ago, right? It's like, if you go back to the 70s, get into a stranger's car was like something you didn't do. It's like, never get into a stranger's car. Are you crazy? And now there's an app on your phone where you can pay people money to get in strangers' cars. And nobody worries about it because it's fine, right? Like once you've done it a couple times, you understand how it works, and it just becomes natural. So you go back a few years, even last year, but certainly 4 or 5 years ago, Twitch was this crazy, weird thing. It's like these people are saying anything. Like, what are they doing? You know, that guy's eating hot peppers. Like, this other guy's just like, you know, asleep. Like, this guy's playing My Little Pony. Like, what is it?
There's a guy who's like bounty hunting on Twitch now.
Yeah, and you know, with all of this stuff, as a company, you say, well, you know, I could spend my money anywhere. I could buy a magazine ad, a web ad, like a TV ad. Why am I going to spend it on this like lunatic with a giant beard who's, you know, eating a whole bottle of ketchup, like whatever it is? And, you know, but over time, you start doing it, you try it a little bit, you get a little more comfortable. You bring, you know, people have done it, so you hire people that have experience and say, yeah, you know, don't worry, like, I've done this a bunch of times. That's totally normal. He just eats hot peppers for the first 10 minutes and then, you know, cries and says hello to everyone in the chat. You know, it's stuff like that. And so now Twitch is becoming a lot more, people are a lot more accustomed to working on it. Let's see. Zentier asks, any tip for fresh affiliates to get in touch with interesting companies that also support small streams? Do I have to become a partner to be worth enough? Yeah, so it's a tough thing. And one of the sort of general pieces of advice we give is it's better to focus on when you're small, but it's true at almost any time. Like, it's still true for Co. It's better to focus on growing your channel than to focus on getting a lot of deals. Because when you're an affiliate size, right? So I don't know how many viewers you have. Let's say you have 20 viewers. So, and we'll show you how we calculate our rates, but I'm just gonna do it real quick. So if you had 20 viewers and you were doing a sponsored stream for an hour and you did it at sort of what we would consider, the very higher end of the rates that you could make, you would make $24 an hour streaming. That would be like the fair market value for your stream to 20 people. Now, that's not a ton of money. And remember that to get that deal that paid $24, it wasn't that you just had to do 1 hour of work, but you also had to do the research to find those companies. You had to send emails, you had to negotiate with them, you had to sign a contract, you had to review a contract, you had to go through all of these steps that took, you know, probably several hours in total, possibly even more, you know, because it's not like always the first one is going to work.
Right.
You know, so you may send out hundreds of these that each take an hour or so before you get one deal that's going to pay you $24 an hour. And hey, I mean, you can make, you know, just a little bit less working in Starbucks. So, you know, when you look at the amount of effort that you put in there, and you understand that if you had 40 viewers instead of 20, that would be $48, not 24. Isn't it better to spend your time growing the channel before you worry about trying to get a deal? Because just the amounts of the deals are going to be so small, you know. Like sometimes our clients, they'll get an offer in, right? And someone will want to pay them like $250 to tweet something. And you think, wow, you know, a tweet, that's really easy. That takes 5 minutes. Like why wouldn't anyone want just like a free $250? But the reality is that there's these hours of other work that are involved too. And by the time you do everything, that even that $250 doesn't seem like a lot of money. And so you have to kind of pay attention to not just the time that you're broadcasting, but also the amount of time it takes to get the work, right? Like if you, you know, for example, you work at a regular job, right? Like Zach works at OP Group. It's a regular job. He's not a live streamer or anything. So average day, you work 8 hours a day, right? Like it's a 9 to 5 job. But then you also have to think about, right, well, how far do I have to drive every day to get to work? You know, how many times is there going to be something that I have to, Zach's going to quit by the end of this thought, but, you know, it's like how many times, you know, do I have to do something kind of later at night or something like that? You know, like how many times am I doing something that's not, you know, not directly that time that I'm getting paid for, you know? And when you're a streamer, like those revenue opportunities are very fixed to, you know, the amount of time. Like Zach will get paid the same amount of money because he's on salary every week, you know, that he does this. If he works 1,000 hours or if he works 40 hours. But as a streamer, you know, doing these deals, you're only going to get an hour or two, you know, or maximum sort of 5 or 6 usually that are paid. So at $24 an hour, even if you get 10 hours of streaming opportunity, you're talking about $250, you know, and you could have made $250 doing a lot of things. So, you know, our general recommendation is when you're an affiliate, even when you're a small partner, but really all the way, focus more on growing your channel than going out and trying to develop deals yourself, because it's really hard to develop deals. Like it's, you know, and the smaller you are, the more difficult it is. Whereas like once you get to the point, like for a lot of our clients that are bigger, you know, they have 500, 1,000, 5,000 viewers, the companies just come to them. Like they don't have to do any work. Like they're just getting emails all the time because people want to do that. So I would focus more on getting bigger than on trying to make revenue off of your audience now. And your audience will appreciate it too, and your show will be better.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's, I think this applies to like all streamers, like whether you're small or you're large. Like the back end, the business side of things can actually get pretty complex. You know, like, you know, figuring out like what you're worth can be difficult when you're starting out, or whether you're like later on. And then figuring out like, you know, once you get to that contract phase, like looking through everything, that's just a ton of like back end work, you know, on top of streaming.
Yeah, and normally when we talk to potential clients, I keep hitting this light over here. We talk to potential clients, we ask them a question. It's like, you know, we look at the dashboard and the data, and we can see how much they stream. So it's like, oh, you stream 60 hours a week. So that's already a lot. Well, how much time do you spend every week answering emails, talking to your mods, you know, talking to your graphic designers, planning your schedule, testing out games to see if you want to stream them, all these things. And then all of a sudden the person realizes like, man, I'm working 14 hours a day. I'm working 16 hours a day. This is insane. This is a lot of work. And to do that much work, you know, it takes a toll on you. So it's better to focus on the big picture. And the big picture is the people who make the most money are bigger, you know. And as a smaller streamer, you're just generally not gonna see the kinds of deals, you know. NVIDIA's not gonna call, you know, unfortunately. And it's not that they're jerks, like they actually love streamers. I love NVIDIA, but the reality is, they just say like, look, we only have so many of these 2080 Ti's that we can send out. Who are we going to send them to? Like, we're going to send them to the big streamers where it gets the most impact. When someone holds it up and says, look how awesome this thing is, thousands of people are going to see it, not 20, And that sucks, but that's just the reality of the business. Radagast asks a good question. Do you think the rise of Fortnite has accelerated interest of companies in the Twitch platform? Is that a good thing that something like Fortnite brought them in? What do you think?
I think definitely. I think recently I noticed like a ton of companies will like reach out just because they know like Fortnite is so huge. It's an easy way for companies to get into the platform and start from there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and it happened before, like 5 or so years ago when the first big spike on Twitch for variety stuff was Minecraft. Like, Minecraft blew up. Hopefully everyone here is at least like 5 years old, so you remember this. Because you shouldn't be on Twitch if you're under 13, just FYI. But, Minecraft blew up, and it was this huge craze. And the cool thing about it was that for all the folks, there's plenty of folks out there that aren't gamers. It's about 50% of people, there was a study that the government did, 50% of people say they play games in America, which is awesome, right? And I can't remember what the percentage was, like 10 or 15% identify as gamers. Like, I identify as a gamer, right? Like, I play a lot of games, I love games, that sort of thing. So that high a percentage of people, like, you go back 10 years, like, that's not how it was. Like, you go back 20 years, 30 years, like, you're in the 80s, and like, the video games had like, winners don't use drugs things on them.
Those.
And
Street Fighter.
Yeah, video games were dangerous and, all this crazy stuff. And, so Minecraft was the first thing, like, it was something that everyone could understand, right? Everyone got Minecraft. Everyone gets Fortnite. Like, even if they don't play it, like, you see it everywhere, right? It's on the news, athletes are playing it, all that stuff. And then, in those stories, it always kind of says, like, Fortnite became popular because of this thing called Twitch. It's the best place to watch Fortnite. And you're just like, the hell is, what? But all of a sudden that gets people there. And once people are there, that's the most important thing. Because then they go to Twitch, they look at it, they say, is this a place for me? A lot of them say no. It's like, this is some weird shit, I'm going. But some of them stay. And some of them say, this is cool. Like, oh, there are other games? Like, well, I like League of Legends, or I like Minecraft, or Overwatch. And they start watching, and they hang out, right? Like, if you think back, and kind of an interesting thing to think about is, like, what was your first experience of going to the website Twitch and kind of how you viewed it? And so anytime something like Fortnite, and Fortnite is a huge craze. It's actually experiencing a little bit of a dip on Twitch right now, which is kind of interesting, and we're studying that. But when something that big happens, it just adds to the viewership. And then those folks, a lot of them will just watch Fortnite, and that's great. But some of them will say, hey, what else is on? Oh, Ninja went off. Like, let me see, what are these other streamers? Or Ninja's playing a different game today. It's like, well, I didn't realize there were other games. I was just watching Fortnite, and now it's like, well, I like Call of Duty as well, so let me check out Call of Duty. And then they become part of Twitch, and that means that they have an opportunity to come see some of the smaller streamers and get to know, the parts of the community that we work in and that we really like, just more of the entertainment broadcasters. Landmark update streams were my first experience on Twitch. Yeah, I mean, that's the way a lot of people find out about Twitch is through game companies, because game companies will run, it's like, here's our development update, or here's the new features, or whatever. And, people who are interested, it's like, oh, I'm very interested in the next Civilization game. I want to see what the features are. I'll go watch the developer stream. And then, that will be your first experience is, you just watch these guys and they're kind of boring, and it's like, we have the new Civilizations. Sorry for Axis, I love Civilization. But, then you're there and you're just like, well, what else is going on? And so any way that people come into Twitch is good for everybody on Twitch, right? Like, platforms need viewers. If there are no viewers there, then nobody makes any money. So we love Fortnite.
Yeah, a lot of the companies I've actually talked to, a lot of like their bosses like have no familiarity with Twitch at all. It's usually comes from someone who's like in marketing and actually really likes Twitch and really likes video games, and then they try to introduce that to their bosses.
Yep. Or sometimes it's their kids.
Yeah, that works definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like especially if I go back to sort of the early days, like 2012-ish, stuff like that, a lot of the more senior people at companies, it's like the way they would find out about it is because it's like, my kid is always watching these YouTube videos of people playing Minecraft. I don't understand. Why would anyone watch a video? There's literally, there's a show on Netflix called My Next Guest Needs No Introduction, and it's David Letterman's show, right? So it's just David Letterman interviewing sort of whoever he wants. And one of the ones he did was with Tina Fey. And I'm a big fan of Tina Fey.
Mm-hmm.
And
she's great.
Yeah, and she's like talking about it. She's talking about how her kids like they just like watching people play Minecraft on the YouTubes, and she doesn't get it. And it's like a perfect perspective on how a lot of people first find out that this thing exists. Tina Fey was very busy doing, all of her life, being like one of the funniest people in the world, and is not sitting around playing Minecraft or watching YouTube videos of Minecraft, and, finds out about it from her kid and says, well, what is this? And, next thing, yeah, Tina Fey has, I think, 2 kids. And then that's how people get introduced to this. I don't know, it's all kind of weird.
Yeah, it just kind of spreads kind of like a virus. Just because like, I don't know, like I was in class the other day, my professor actually was talking to us about, like, what's up with you guys being on your phones? You guys all playing Fortnite or whatever. And I'm like, how do you know about Fortnite? And he just told us this really long story about how his his grandkids play Fortnite, his son plays Fortnite, and his son is like, I don't know, in his 30s or something, and just keeps on spreading. That level of influence just spreads like throughout everywhere.
Yeah, Jen was at a party a couple weeks ago, and so it was like her friends, and then like some of their friends were older, so they were in their like 50s and 60s and stuff. It's like kind of weird. So like their kids were there, and their kids were like 20, and the kids are off, like in the kids corner, right? Because they don't want to hang out with like all these old ass people. And they're all, and she can just hear them, right? And she's just like hears them say like League of Legends or Fortnite or whatever, and she's just like, what? It's like, why am I talking to you old people? I'm going to talk to these kids. Like, they're talking about the thing I do. And then what's really cool is when you meet these people that don't really understand it, you talk to them a little bit, and you can put it into a context they didn't understand, because to them that's just that weird shit their kid is doing. It's like, I wish Junior would get off the frickin'
The Fortnites.
Yeah, the Fortnites on their smartphones and whatnot, and do their homework. But then you can come in and say, it's like, well, I mean, I know it's just a game, but like there's a guy who makes like $1 million a year playing Fortnite. Like there's a bunch of people that make a lot of money playing this game, and not just this game, but all kinds of games. And that wakes people up, because there's like, what? What do they do? It's like, wow, they just play games and people watch them and they make money. And it's like, what? It's
the first time I told my dad, when I started working at OPG, he really couldn't understand it, and I had to like maybe like tell him like 5 different times about the type of clients that we work with, and he still doesn't understand it to this day. He just doesn't get it. It's like way out of his like thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you think about sort of older people and cell phones. Like my parents did not understand cell phones. I still don't think they really do. We were like, we're gonna get you cell phones, and they're like, why? We already have a phone in the house. It's like, yeah, but you take this phone with you. Like, why would you take your phone with you? Like, that's a terrible idea. It's like, we have an answering machine. It'll get the message. It's like, yeah, but see, you wouldn't need an answering machine if you always had your phone with you. It's like, but we already have a phone. And it's like, but if
my phone takes pictures, and like, why do we need to take pictures on a phone?
Yeah, pictures shouldn't take.
We have cameras.
Yeah, we have a camera. It's really nice, And I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing, right? It's really interesting to see games inject into schools. I think League has launched their first few teams for high school esports, and a lot of colleges as well.
Oh, yeah.
There's scholarships, like Radagast is saying, and like a collegiate esports scene, you know, that kind of like college football or college basketball, something like that. You know, that's farm teams basically. You know, one day people will be drafted into the pros, but yeah, I mean, because whatever, like 50% of people in America are playing games, and you know, the younger the audience is, the higher percentage that's going to be. So when you got these kids in school and you're trying to keep them, you know, paying attention and having a good time, like incorporating games into their lives is going to make a huge difference. You know, I mean, even when I went to school in 1896, we had these like old ass computers with like green and black screens, and you know, they were horrible. We had this like whole lab of them from the future, and it was crazy. And you know, they just had like crappy games on them, but you know, they'd take us in there, it's like, play this game and learn math, and it's like, well, this is better than sitting in a classroom and learning math. So you know, Fortnite dances in PE.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think like, I don't know, I just left work and we're pretty close to like some residential area. I went outside for like a minute and there's like 5 kids doing like Fortnite dances. Like it's insane.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? To go back to that really good question from before, you look at Fortnite and it's more than just a game. Like it's a cultural movement. You know, it's part of culture. It's like Pokemon was, or Star Wars, or something like that. People are talking about it, not just because, you know, people who don't play the game are talking about it because it has affected the culture so much. And when something like that happens, it gives you like meaningful paths into things that you wouldn't have otherwise known about, which is really cool for Twitch in this case, because Twitch is really the catalyst of Fortnite. Without Twitch, there's a lot of games, including Fortnite, but also like H1Z1, PUBG, pretty much all battle royales. Sorry, I'm tangling myself up in my microphone because I'm an idiot. We good. You know, all of these kinds of games that wouldn't even exist without Fortnite or without Twitch. It's kind of cool, but we are a little off topic. So, so let's see. Other stuff we want to talk about. Yeah, we announced we have 2 new clients, DJ Tech Live and Tiger Rider. We're very excited. Also on Wednesday, we announced a new service that we're providing to any broadcaster that needs it, not just our clients. We've been doing it for our clients for years. But this is debt collection. So one thing we've noticed over time is that a lot of companies or a lot of streamers have difficulty getting paid. You know, they do the work, but for whatever reason, sometimes it's that the company's being a scumbag and trying not to pay them. Sometimes it's that they don't know how to get paid, or they lost the person's email, or you know, they sent in the wrong forms, or they don't know what the right forms are, or you know, whatever it is. Sometimes they just don't get paid. And so for us, we handle payments for our clients on just like thousands of deals. And so we also work with pretty much every company that works in the game industry with live streamers, YouTubers, that kind of thing. So we've informally helped a lot of streamers over time that, you know, have just come to us and said, hey, you know, I did this deal, I didn't get paid, what should I do? You know, and just said, hey, we know those guys, do you want me to just send an email or whatever, and, you know, help them get paid? And, you know, even for our clients, right, we sign a new client like we did today. Well, those guys didn't just start streaming today, they've been streaming for years. And so maybe in the past they have, you know, situations where like they didn't get paid for something. You know, they tell us about it, and a lot of times we can just help them sort it out. So we decided that we wanted to offer that service to everybody because it's good for everybody. We don't, like, if you did that work and you didn't get paid for it, you deserve to be paid for it. You did the work, you know? It's just like if you work a regular job and it's payday and your paycheck doesn't come, you just, like, where's my money? Like, you know, I need to get paid. Like, I have bills, I was planning on getting this money, I did the work, you know, I should be paid for my work. Totally fair. And so we decided to create a service to help people with that. And yeah, Zoran, being a debt collector is a shitty job. But what we're doing is, you know, we're not doing the thing where it's like people who've like skipped town on their debts and, you know, like nobody's we're not going to send Zach to break anyone's legs.
I wish I
right?
wouldn't have to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and look, Mr. McStabby's talking about it too. Yeah. I mean, this is not the like, stereotypical idea of debt collection where you're like chasing people down or harassing them. All that stuff is illegal, super illegal, by the way. Johnny Scar, thank you so much for subscribing 44 months in a row. And hey, Giroud's Fire, it's nice to see you come in. Sorry I didn't say anything. Thanks, man. But yeah, this is not the illegal Sopranos debt collection sort of thing.
Like the Joe Pesci
Yeah.
type of thing going on,
Though, I think that's pretty funny. Yeah, so you basically do invoice administration. Yeah, we are helping people recover their payments for whatever reason. And sometimes it's going to be because the company is trying actively not to pay them. And we will help them chase that money down. Or there have been situations where, like some of our clients didn't get paid for like a year. And, we're constantly bugging the company, sending them letters, like threatening legal action, stuff like that. And it turned out they just didn't have money. Which is why they didn't pay, and they got bought by another company. And we found out it's like they got bought by another company that we also do business with. So we call them. We're like, hey, well, actually they mentioned to us that they were buying this company, and we're like, they owe us money, and those guys are like, holy shit, like, okay, so we owe you money now. Like, I'm really sorry about that. We'll take care of it. So in most cases, these things are not going to be huge like fights or detective cases or things like that. They're going to be situations where either a streamer didn't follow the process correctly, forgot about it, for a long time, and then lost all the information, or a company is, just kind of being a jerk. Because the unfortunate thing is when you're an individual streamer, especially if you're smaller, a company can look at you and say like, well, if I screw them over, who's gonna know? Who cares? What are they gonna do?
Yeah.
It's like $500, $1,000. What, you're gonna sue me? Like, come on. I have real lawyers and stuff. So, sometimes companies do think that way, unfortunately. But in most cases, it's probably gonna be a little friendlier than that. A little more like, hey, so we're working with this person, and you owe them this money, and here's all the paperwork, and I would totally not forget to submit an invoice for 6 months. Yeah. I mean, we definitely have had situations where, we've done debt collection for people in the past. And so we get in touch with the company, a big company, and say, hey, we're working with this person, and they say you owe them, $5,000 or whatever. And they just go through their, we get the accountant, go through the records, like, yeah, you never sent an invoice. Go to the person, the streamer, and say like, well, yeah, they said that you didn't send an invoice. Like, what's up with that? And the person says like, well, what's an invoice? And it's like, okay, well, there you go.
And it also puts, like sometimes it'll put like the streamer in a weird situation because, they might be really excited to work with companies, and then, to not get paid, for the work that they've done, it could be a letdown. And, sometimes they might really like that company, and they might feel like, they don't want to be annoying, but, in reality, they should be getting paid.
Yep. Yeah, if you do the work, you deserve to get paid. It's just that simple. And, sometimes a very long time will go by, right? Like, it's been a year, and a lot of times the company is trying to get you to, cash your check or send in the information. They're just like, hey, we need you to sign a W-9. We need you to do these things, then we can pay you. And you just never do it. And then at some point it becomes kind of awkward because it's been like a year, and you're like, well, do I even get paid now? Or, like a check, if they issue a check and you don't cash it, the check usually expires after 90 days. So then, like 6 months later, you take it to the bank, it doesn't work. And so you then have to go back to the company, ask for a check. And that's kind of embarrassing, right? It's like, hi, so I'm an idiot that didn't cash my check for 6 months. Like, could I waste your time, and get you to send me another check? Like, that all feels bad to be in that situation. So sometimes streamers just don't worry with it. And sometimes streamers are just so busy that they're just like, look, I can go try to get this, $1,000 back, or I could just make $1,000 doing something else. I'll just make it, make the other 1,000. So a lot of different reasons that the service is valuable, and we've seen, so many examples of why it's valuable over time. that we're really excited about it. So we have a web page for it. We just posted a blog, so if you just go to opg.tv/blog, you can see kind of the overview post. And to answer your question, Zoran, what we do is, if we recover the money for you, we'll take 15% of what we recover, which is way better than what debt collection companies actually do, because we did the research on that first. And what debt collection companies typically do is you sign an agreement with them that you will pay them 30% of the total amount. So if you were owed $10,000, then you would agree to pay them $3,000. Basically no matter how much they get back. So if they get back less than $3,000, they're going to keep all of that money. It's only after $3,000 that you're going to get it. So if they got $10,000 back for you, then you'd get $7,000. But if they got $5,000 back for you, you'd get $2,000. And you get, $3,000 back, you get nothing. Is sort of the typical way that I understand it. So what we're going to do is, it's a little bit different, because again, there are business reasons they do it that way, which is that it's much harder for them to collect the debts than it's going to be for us, because a lot of times they're working with some people that have just like bugged out, or maybe died, or like changed their names, or moved to another country, or have no money. Like there's a lot of reasons people can't pay their debts. So a lot of the times when and this is a good advice too. If you ever get a debt collection notice, understand that you can negotiate the debt collection. So if they say you owe us $10,000, this is a debt collection service. A lot of time, that company is empowered to take a settlement, right? It's like, well, hey, could I just pay half? The company doesn't care, because they get the same amount no matter what. So, all they care about is that you're paying sort of 30% of the debt. So you really only have to pay 30%, and they're generally going to be happy, is my understanding. Anyway, a little random advice. But yeah, so we're really excited about the debt collection thing. Yeah, Zach just linked the blog, so you can check it out. And if anybody needs it, there's actually a header on the website now called, I think, Payment Recovery. And you can check that out. It has a little form to fill out if you need the service, and we just need we need to know a little bit about your situation in order to proceed. But yeah, so if it's someone that's happened to you or someone just point them there, and we'll answer their questions and see what we can do. But I'm pretty excited about it. Now, what are we talking about today? Rates, right? Rates are difficult. Why are rates difficult? One of the things that we see all the time when we talk to streamers, especially streamers we don't manage, is they say, I would love to do more sponsored work, but I don't know what to charge. And I don't want to charge too little, because I don't want to undersell myself. I also don't want to charge too much, because then either the company's not going to work with me, or I'm ripping them off. And in either case, in any of those cases, right, it sucks for somebody. So how do I figure out rates? It's a really good question. Spider Oz, how you doing, man? So at OP Group, we spend a lot of time working on rates, sort of the analysis of how to do this. And we've come up with a pretty simple, basic formula for how to do this. So if you learn nothing else by watching us, and you probably won't, except about spiders and how to negotiate with debt collectors, and I don't know. That's a pretty informative show. But just learn this one thing. This one formula will get you about 80% accurate no matter what. So what we do is, the most fair way to charge for viewership on Twitch is to actually charge for the number of people that are watching and how long they're watching, right? We all understand that CohhCarnage should make more money than SirSlaw, right? Why? CohhCarnage is bigger. He has a bigger audience. He's been streaming longer. He's ostensibly a better streamer, right? Like, he has all these things that make him make it logical that he would make more money, right? And so we know that intuitively, but then how do we quantify that? And what are the main differences between SirSlaw and CohhCarnage? I mean, they both have beards, right? They're both nice, I guess, and they're both like fantastic streamers. So if you look at the two of them side by side, the easiest difference between them is how many people are watching. So that's where we started, is you say, okay, how many people are watching the stream? And then let's figure out what that's worth. So what we came to is we call cost per viewer minute. So how many people are watching and for how long? And then you multiply that by a rate, and the rate is just something we have calculated based on other advertising rates. Hey, Jungle Jim, how you doing, man? Other advertising rates. So like, how much does it cost to post a Facebook ad? How much does it cost to do a video, a video ad on YouTube? All of these things. How much does everything cost in this industry? And then we said, okay, well, what's fair? Like, what's the quality value of a minute of someone's time on Twitch versus a minute of someone's time on YouTube? And cost per viewer minute was the best way to do it. And so the rate that we've come to, and this changes, right? It even changes between deals. So sometimes we change it, kind of depending on what's going on. But in general, the rate is anywhere between 1.1 and 2 cents per viewer per minute. So you talk about this like cost per viewer minute sort of system, and because of that, it gives you a really easy sort of formula for how this all works. So again, seasonally change, not as much, Jim.
Did you just do that?
They can hear you guys.
Music works.
Yeah, like.
Jamar just said, "Oh, that's you saying that."
Okay, it works.
They can hear you, but it's coming through the.
Can they hear us now?
Huh?
Hello?
Keep saying words.
No, I won't.
Can
say
anybody hear
words.
me?
I think that.
Is it the labs or is it the?
If you can hear me,
Oh, you just changed this.
say yes.
I think you guys are good now.
I think you are good now, Jamar, is what your
We're
mom
good?
said last night.
No, they can hear you.
Somebody in chat, please tell them they can hear me.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I talk like that all the time. What's the big deal? So yeah, sorry about that. It was pretty funny because it's pretty funny because Jamar actually had a couple meetings during the show. He usually runs the show, so Audrey's running the show,
And everything goes wrong.
And everything's
And-
breaking.
yeah.
Blame Jamar.
and obviously Audrey is just terrible at this.
But we should still blame Jamar. Should still blame Jamar.
But yeah, so just like several random bad luck things have happened like that, and then Audra's trying to fix it and she can't figure it out, and we're just talking like idiots in case maybe they come back on, and then finally she's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go get Jamar." Jamar comes back in, and he just sits down. And he just goes, "Oh my god!"
Doesn't even
It's
make
like-
sense.
it's
It
like-
doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, we're screwed. So everyone can hear, we're all good. Sorry about that. So last thing we were talking about was
the formula for cost per viewer minutes.
oh no, it was that Jim said, is there seasonality?
Right.
So you have the formula for viewer minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Should you change that seasonally based on demand? Now it's certainly true that right now there are hot periods and slow periods for the game industry for influencer marketing, and it should make sense, right? January pretty slow, because right after Christmas, like all the big games have just come out. Everyone has been on holiday, so nobody's in the office, so nobody's booking sponsored streams as much. And then they get back into the office and get organized to kind of keep going. So February picks up a little bit, and then March is okay, and then usually April, May, pretty good, and then you hit June, and June's what E3 is. And so at E3, all the game companies are planning to announce stuff and talk about it, so they really want to work with everybody. And then throughout the summer, it just goes like crazy, all the way like Gamescom and PAX and stuff like that. And then, like December dips just a little bit because of Christmas, that last week of December, everybody's gone, so nobody's booking any streams. So there is seasonality to the work. But at this point, there's not enough competition or not enough sort of inventory of stuff coming in that you would need to say, well, it's the off season, right? Like you as a streamer don't change seasonally, right? Your show is pretty consistently good. January, February, June, July, whatever. Whereas like, you go to the Bahamas or something, right? It's like the Bahamas are awesome in June, right? Like, and it's peak time, everyone wants to go. They're not so great in October when it's hurricane season. And, shit gets real. And, it's not so great in January when it's winter, and instead of being like 82 degrees and like beautiful, it's actually like 73 degrees and the water's cold. So if you have a hotel in the Bahamas, naturally it gets cheaper when the weather sucks, but the weather doesn't suck for a Twitch streamer. You are consistently good all year long, so you should be charging pretty much the same amount for everything. We haven't seen anything like that where people are like, well, it's January, so we don't want to pay as much. It's just that there are fewer companies that have marketing opportunities in January, so you'll hear from less companies. Does Twitch suffer the same hit in viewers that YouTube does during September with school? It actually usually works differently for Twitch. In general, the summer is slow because there's an age demographic difference between Twitch and YouTube. YouTube tends to be younger, right? Like you think of kids watching Minecraft videos. Whereas Twitch, because it's live, it's a little more sophisticated, and you have to know a little bit more. I always make the analogy for people that know it, like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like Pokemon, people are like, it's a kid's game. Like it's so cartoony, it's for kids, and then Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like, whoa, those monsters are kind of badass. Like that dude's got some eyeliner on. Like he's like me as a teenager, and teenagers would make fun of you for playing Pokemon because Yu-Gi-Oh was like the cool one. The same is kind of true for Twitch and YouTube. YouTube is a little bit younger. The demographic is younger, so when they go back to school, they have to sit in a classroom and they can't use their phone or whatever. When like high school and college kids go back to school, it's a better time because they're not watching their show. They're they're not watching their professor. They've got like Twitch on the screen. If you're lucky, they got Twitch on the screen. So actually coming back to school for Twitch tends to work well. I did not wear eyeliner in school except for the theater. and once or twice for personal reasons. But can you be Exodia? I don't know. Can you? Do you have the heart of the cards? And I can go deep on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon, man. Not as deep as I used to, but that's what she said. But I used to work on both of them, so that was a lot of fun. So rates, yeah. To that question, yeah, we don't see a lot of seasonality in rates. That may change over time, but all of this is going to change over time. Like if we go back a year, rates were lower. Like it was a lot closer to that 1.1 cent than the 2 cents. And now 2 cents is just like, it may need to go up at some point soon. We're always watching it. We handle quite a lot of the deals that happen on Twitch, so we're constantly paying attention to like what the decline rates are, what companies say. You know, like sometimes companies are like, oh my God, that's a lot of money, right? And so if we ever quote out a rate, and like 10 companies in a row are like, whoa, what are you smoking to say that, you know, that's worth like $3 million? You know, then we know, like, well, maybe the market has not adjusted there yet. So that's some thinking about that, right? But yeah, so how we determine rates, again, I'll say it one more time in case anyone missed it with all the insanity. But it's take your number of viewers, multiply it by the amount of time that people are going to be watching, so like an hour, and then multiply it by a rate. So, you know, usually between 1.1 cents and 2 cents. And yeah, totally random numbers, but Zach just put an example in the chat. That's when you can cite the Carnage and Ninja stories as well. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, so you can see, like, if you just use that formula on a channel like Ninja's, the numbers will get stupid. So it's not a perfect formula because it's not correct when you get to a channel of that size. You have to think about sort of discounting the rate some because, you know, like we were talking about earlier, the bigger channels, the audience is less good, less engaged, less qualified. And there are other factors too, right? Like if you think about Fortnite, League of Legends, Hearthstone, what is something that all three of those games have in common? They're all free to play. So the audiences that are watching a free to play game are naturally going to be people who play free to play games. And so if you're trying to market a paid product to them, if you're trying to market Battlefield, a $60 game, to an audience of Fortnite where everyone's free to play, you know, you have to understand a lot of those people are kids that are watching. You know, they do not have a credit card. They are not making a $60 purchase on the spur of the moment by themselves. They may ask for Battlefield for Christmas or something like that. So it's not that it won't be effective at all, but you know, you have to factor that in. So if you were looking at the audience for a game, you have to say like, well, how much is my audience going to like this game in addition to how many people are there? How long am I going to play the game? You know, if you play the game for 6 hours straight, a lot of those viewers are going to be the same people. Like if you're a good streamer, people will stick around for, 2, 3, 4 hours of your stream. I mean, you guys are all here and, we've had tech difficulties and we started a little late and, you're listening to me talk, like it's all terrible. But, people will stick around when they like the channel. But that also means like, if you're advertising the same game to somebody for 6 hours, like they probably got it in the first 30 minutes, like they're not going to change their mind in hour 5. It's like, okay, well now that I saw the 5th hour of this game, now I'm going to buy it. People make those decisions fairly quickly. So you have to discount a little bit if you're doing this sort of like longer term promotions as well. So like I said, it's not a perfect formula. You always have to think about it a little bit, but it's certainly better than pulling a number out of your ass or guessing or using some sort of rule of thumb. You can use that as a basis, and you can also say that's how OPG calculates their rates because it's true. And then if whatever company you're talking to sends us an email and says, "Is this true?" we will tell them that you were doing it the same way we would have done it for CoCarnage. And then all that other boring stuff. But and so let's talk about the rates. So one of the things we did too is we ask people, anybody who wants it, and we'll do this show every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who wants can sign up. We posted basically an application on Twitter that just, hey, fill this out, answer a couple questions, show us your Twitch channel, and we will do live rates for you. So we is gonna do that now. So the first person that we have up here is, yeah, and there's the thing, if you want to sign up for next time. Because like I said, I don't know exactly when we'll do it again, but in general, we get asked to do this about every couple weeks. So, you know, we should do it at least once every month or two. But yeah, so the first person we have is named UNHC. Is there no audio on this scene?
Okay, you're good.
Hello?
We're good. Hello?
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear? Hello?
If you can hear us, wave at the screen.
You're good.
Audrey says you can hear us, but I don't believe it until... Yes!
Cool.
All right, well, so I hope you enjoyed my slow scrolling down. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on. Audrey throwing the Stream Deck under the bus, so that's good.
Because that was the only
But yeah, so for every channel on Twitch that's over a certain size, which is I think like 10 concurrent, we collect this data, and we look at a bunch of different things. But you know, right here you can see Ewan's viewership over time, right? So we can see historically how he's done. We can actually go back for, I don't know, like a year and a half or 2 years. I can't remember exactly how long we've had the data, but this view is showing 90 days. And then we go to this chart and we can see the average is the orange number and the peak is the purple number. So how many people did he have on average, and then how many people were the maximum that were in his channel at any time. And this lets us look at things like, ooh, what happened here? Like, he had a really good stream. You know, this could be that he was on the front page, or he got rated by, you know, a bigger streamer, or, you know, maybe he just picked the right game at the right time, you know, but it gives us a data point that we're interested in. And then we see, you know, oh, there's a couple other kind of little peaks right here that are interesting. Another one here, a couple back here. So, you know, what was happening during these times? Because number one, Ewan may want to look at those things and say, well, I should do more of that because it succeeded. Or when we're thinking about the calculations on prices, we may want to discount that. Because like if this was that he's on the front page, you know, and he got 500 viewers because of that, well, he's not going to get 500 viewers when he does a sponsored stream. So it's kind of unfair to add that number into his average. So we take a look at this kind of for that reason. We go down a little bit more and we have live time frequency, which is my favorite thing. This actually shows for every day of the week what times Ewan is most likely to be online. And this helps us, you know, sometimes a company wants a specific stream to happen at a specific time of day. It's like, hey, this game is launching on Tuesday at 10 a.m. At 10 a.m. we would like to have a streamer. So you don't want somebody who normally streams at night streaming at 10 a.m. because their audience isn't going to be there. So this gives us the ability to look at channels and say, okay, well, who's live during that time normally, so that we can figure out who would make the most sense. Can your clients, hey, Morning Brew Show, how you doing, man? Can your clients access the data for themselves? Not currently. It's definitely something that we want to do right now, but we haven't. We've been building it sort of as an internal tool, and haven't put a lot of the sort of additional development into it not being an internal tool. There's also some privacy things that we have to sort through that, are all minor, but, we have to, like, inform people, blah, blah, blah. So we haven't done that stuff for the dashboard because it's all internal right now. But it is definitely something that we're looking at in the future. So here you can see over the last 90 days what percentage of time this person, Ewan, has played different games, right? He's spent the vast majority of his time playing PUBG. But what I like to see, what's interesting is you need to look at how often people play specific games. Because somebody who plays this much PUBG, you have to ask yourself the question, what's going to happen when they play a different game? A lot of their audience may just be there to watch Ewan play PUBG. And so when he's playing, what's a weird one here? Citadel Forged with Fire. That's kind of the outlier of the group. When he's playing Citadel, like, how much does his audience care about that? Like, are they excited or are they not excited? Like, if you go look at, say, Co-Carnage's chart for this, it's all over the place. There's just like 40, 50, 60 pie pieces, and nothing has, probably more than 20% of his total time. Because he's a variety streamer, right? He plays a variety of different games. Ewan is clearly a specialized streamer who plays a lot of PUBG. That's good for him in some ways. It will also work against him in some ways. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, streamers know how to stream, not read stats. So they're better off perhaps asking. Yeah, that's also true, Barry, is at first, like a few years ago, we were providing a monthly data report to our clients. And we found that not very many of them went through it. It was kind of probably a little heavy. So in general, we look through the data and then we'll talk to them about it. And if they have questions or they want to see specific things, we'll actually pull together a custom report for it to answer questions. Nick1, thank you very much for the sub. Really appreciate it, man. That's awesome. And yeah, as a reminder, all the bits, the tips, the subs, all of that revenue that we generate through this channel is used to buy giveaway products for smaller streamers. So actually, yeah, we did a giveaway a little while ago. The summer man's gotten away from me.
Yeah, we gave away like a streaming setup. So we had like a green screen, like a WebRound green screen. I think there was a Razer Kio and a Razer Siren, which is like the webcam with the ring light and the portable microphone.
And the cut down video.
Yes,
Yeah,
and the
that
highlight
was pretty
video.
cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
So we had one of the video editors we work with did a, whoa, my God. One of the video editors we work with did a highlight video for the winner of the contest, which I thought was cool. Radagash just subscribed with Twitch Prime. Nick1Ent is giving away 5 tier 1 subs, so thank you so much. Really appreciate it. That's awesome. That's the first time that's happened in here. So that's cool. And let's get jackets for all these awesome people. Classy jackets for classy new subscribers. Yes, and oh man, I am so excited for that scotch a little later today. I cannot tell you. So then, in addition to all that information, we actually get breakdowns of every stream that the person has done. And you can see over here sort of the length of the stream, the average viewers, the peak viewers, and the total viewer minutes. Because like I said, viewer minutes are kind of how we calculate the value of this stuff. So that's what we look at. And if we want to get into more detail, we can view the chart. This is actually the concurrency over time during the stream, and sort of the ups and downs of it. A lot of spikes here, so that's kind of interesting. And then you can see where he switched from PUBG into Tarkov. And again, just the data down here, that sort of thing. And we can go through that for all streams. So in general, what I like to do is just a quick view at some of the outlier streams. Some of the times they do something very consistent. Like this stream here, probably a very good example of Ewan at his best, right? He streamed for 10 hours. He has pretty good viewership. It's much higher than his normal. He got good viewer minutes, so let's see what happened. And yeah, it looks pretty good, right? Again, there's a lot of spikes in here, so I would want to talk to Ewan about what's driving all these little spikes. Why, is it just, well, I guess maybe it's that he's small, right? Because each of these spikes is just a couple people. normally in bigger channels you see sort of smoother curves most of the time. But then I'm gonna guess he went to the bathroom right here, something like that, because about that time of the show, right? And then yeah, but he held his audience really well, you know, overall, like pretty stable growth until he went to the bathroom or whatever that was. But then again, he kind of came back up, which is awesome. And so you can tell based just on the chart that this guy's, you know, probably a pretty good streamer. You don't even have to watch the stream. Like people like him. People like watching it. So this is not Call of Duty. This is Tarkov. So this is him playing a game that is not his normal game. And let's take a look at how he does when he does that. Whoops. Again, pretty steady. You know, much smaller audience because some of his core fans really like PUBG, and they're like not going to be super thrilled about him playing anything else. Big spike here, so maybe he got raided, or maybe, you know, he went up in the directory a few spots, that sort of thing. You can do some simple ML analysis on the streams, plot vertically when streamers are not on camera. ML? I'm not sure what ML means. And then you can see like pretty steady again, some growth. So, you know, consistent, right? This is a good thing. Being consistent in an individual stream is a good sign, you know, that your broadcast is healthy. So looks good. Let's see if he's got anything weird. Here's a stream where he played 3 different games. He played Dota, which is way outside his normal stuff, PUBG, and Tarkov. So let's see what happens here. So he starts on PUBG. You know, again, does kind of what we expect. Switches into Tarkov, hits a pretty big spike. Again, not sure why. Would be interesting. Oh, machine learning. Oh yeah. That's definitely something we can do. Right now, there's not Tyranno. There's not enough. It's interesting because it actually gets into a pretty complicated thing. The most expensive thing for companies to do is say, I want the streamer to play this game at this day at this time. Mm-hmm. Because the more you're asking somebody to commit to, the more trouble it is, the more expensive it is. If somebody says, hey, you know, sometime this week we want the guy to stream, you know, the game for 2 hours, like, then the person doesn't have to like block out this time or rearrange their schedule or whatever. So just go, cool, anytime that week, yeah, I can make that happen. So, you know, you can charge less for that than when the person has very specific demands. And so in general, the times where we get asked for, we want someone at a very specific day or time, a lot of times it's either like a marathon where people want to, you know, have several people stream in a row, or it's something where it's like based around a launch. So we haven't needed the like more sophisticated sort of stuff that you're talking about yet, but I definitely would like to have it because it'd be awesome. And so then after Tarkov, he starts playing Dota, and people, again, not super enthused about Dota, but he's also kind of wrapping up, so may explain some of the drop as well. So in general, what we've learned from that little quick dive into Ewan's stats is that when he's not playing PUBG, he takes a pretty big hit. And that's really important to companies because, so Ewan has 35 average concurrent viewers. So if we just use our formula, right? So 35 viewers times 60 minutes is how many are in an hour, times, 2 cents. That's the cost per viewer minute. That'd be $42 per hour that he makes. Now, so if a company's paying $42 an hour for Ewan, they're going to expect that he has, around 35 viewers because that's how the formula works. Mm-hmm. But if he was going to play Tarkov, right, we can tell when he plays Tarkov or Call of Duty or whatever, he doesn't have 35 viewers. He has like 18, 14, 14, that sort of thing. So it'd be unfair to charge that company as if he's going to have 35 viewers when he's going to have more like 15. So that's something that Ewan really has to watch out for, and something that we would watch out for in recommending prices for him. So we would probably say on an average sponsored deal that Ewan's going to bring in about 15 concurrent viewers. And so this is going to make the number not super compelling, right? So 15 times 60 times 2 cents is going to be $18. So $18 an hour is the typical sort of going rate for an hour of time on Ewan's stream. Now, what we did is we actually asked people what they thought they should charge for, I think, 1 hour of streaming and a tweet to kind of see. And it's interesting because it's very rare that we see anybody hit the number correctly. So Ewan said $100 an hour, which is a little high, unless he has a huge Twitter, which I'm not going to go check right now, but I'm going to assume he doesn't. So the fact that his followers are unavailable to us means that he has kind of a small amount of followers. There's a certain threshold where we just don't collect that information. I can't remember what it is. So if he has a small amount of followers on Twitter or Twitch, he probably has a small amount of followers on Twitter. But in general, you would charge for the tweet as well. But if you only have a few hundred or 1,000 fans on Twitter, it's like $1, so not really worth it. So $100 is what Ewan said he would charge. I think that's a little high for what he's delivering, but at the same time, I also think, like I said earlier, it's just not worth doing this for $20. So for this sort of situation, if I were Ewan, yeah, I would probably ask for $100 because, it's just not. I mean, you're just gonna give me a 20? How are you even gonna get paid $20 for this kind of thing? Yeah, is it the curse of maining a game? Yes, it is. It's a blessing and a curse. You can grow much faster when you're playing one game that's very popular, if you're positioned well. So, you'll have good audiences, you'll have people come back, they'll come back fast. But when you switch games, you are going to be fairly sad. You're going to lose half of your audience, something else. 17, is that, Barry, is that Twitch followers or Twitter followers? This chart is only game driven since they're stream, the gameplay driven, and streams that are personality based. So obviously, as soon as the game changes, viewership drop hits. I guess it's nice to see average viewer for specific games. Well, so Zentir, I mean, some of what you're saying is true, but some of it is also needs to be expanded upon, I would say. So when a streamer plays one game like this, we see this, the 98% is just PUBG, then the charts almost always tend to be game driven. But let me go back and find. Let's just put in. I'm gonna put in Burke Black, because Burke almost always has just a randomly good example of what I want to show you. So Burke Black, is one of our clients. Usually has pretty good audiences. At average 2,000, 2,200, 220,000 followers. So that's great. As you can see, pretty consistent follower growth over time. We didn't have that on the last guy because it was a little too small. And then you can see the streams. But yeah, look at his chart. Remember the last chart that was 98% was PUBG. Burke's chart is what I like to call an eye chart, where I have to lean. You have to lean in, right? And it's what are the biggest games that Burke has played? Burke has played a lot of No Man's Sky, a lot of Star Citizen. Again, 10%, 11%. Elder Scrolls Online, 8%. Nothing over 20%, right? So he's all over the place. So let's take a look at his channel, right? So on this one, what the hell game is that? Foxhole. I don't even know that game. So last night he played Foxhole, which I'm going to assume is cool. Now this is, as you can see, because he has more viewers, the chart is a lot smoother. Ewan's chart was pretty spiky. So Burke demonstrates what we call the classic success graph of a good streamer. The entire time, pretty much, he's just building. More people are coming in, and people really aren't leaving. You know, when we see the chart that looks like this, we know we're looking at a good streamer. And Ewan's chart looked pretty much like this too. It's just a smaller group of people. And, you know, probably right around here, he started mentioning that he was going to get off soon. So people started kind of filing out, finding their next thing. And then, you know, he turns off his stream. So a pretty healthy thing. Now let's look at one where he plays a couple of different games and see how it looks. So this one he's playing The Hunt. He's playing Unfortunate Spaceman, which sounds like my kind of jam. Sansar, which was a sponsored thing, and Demonical. So let's do one that doesn't have a sponsored thing in it. So Elder Scrolls Online and Dig or Die. Yeah, so let's take a look at this. We saw he played a lot of Elder Scrolls Online, and look at his chart. So he's playing Dig or Die, which, you know, again, is a game I don't really even know. One that he probably only played a little bit of. His chart is doing that classic good streamer thing. He switches games. His chart keeps doing this thing, you know. And when we see this, we know we're looking at a really healthy streamer. So let's look at Dig or Die and Star Citizen. Again, he starts on Star Citizen, which is a game that he's pretty well known for. So you're going to expect him to have a good chart. And then he switches over to Dig or Die, which is a game he hasn't played a ton of. And his chart keeps doing the same thing. Now, the reason for this is like almost directly correlated to this thing right here. The fact that he plays a bazillion games. Because the guy who only played PUBG 98% of the time, like 98% of the time, his audience expects to see PUBG. So when they see anything else, that's not what they wanted, you know, which is kind of unfortunate. Whereas no one in Burke's audience is going to expect to see anything more than like 1 out of every 10 streams, right? Because he just plays so many different things. And what that means is, whereas when Ewan switches from PUBG to Escape from Tarkov, even though they're very similar games, some of his audience goes, oh, well, I like Ewan, he's a good streamer, but I really like it when he plays PUBG. If he's not going to play PUBG, I'm going to go watch another streamer I like that plays PUBG. And we see this with a lot, even with the bigger streamers, right? Like, let's take a look at Ninja, because Ninja's pretty big, right? And Ninja's chart may take a little time to load, because his day. That was pretty fast. Oh, that's good. Ninja having a little decline there. But yeah, so let's take a look at what happens when Ninja plays something that's not his game. That was pretty good. So he must have been on the front page. Something happened here because he went up to 250,000 people. So that's not a good example. Let's find an example that's not paid, if we can. Fortnite and PUBG. It's probably a really good one. Very similar games, right? So he's playing Fortnite. You know, growing. This is what we expect. Ninja plays Fortnite a lot. Switches to PUBG. His audience just bails, right? All the way down, you know, from a peak of like 90, well, it says down here, right? 92,000 peak to a low point around half that. Because a lot of his audience doesn't want to watch PUBG. They want to watch Fortnite. And if you saw at the very end there, right, it came back up. There are some, is this a good example? Yeah, it's funny, our thing just hasn't updated the box art for Battlefield yet. So, you know, Battlefield, right? He starts by playing Fortnite for 15 or 20 minutes, shoots way up, shoots up a little bit, but then starts playing Battlefield and just slowly declines. You know, but again, Ninja's a very good streamer, so it's not like he crashes. He loses sort of the hype audience and sticks with, you know, the sort of organic audience that he has. And so you'll see that in streamers, because if we go look, right, Ninja's chart looks very similar to Ewan's chart, right? 94% Fortnite. And because of that, there's just a huge amount of his audience that cares about Fortnite, and that's really it. So my biggest piece of advice to Ewan is, number one, seems like people like your stream based on your stats, so well done. I would look at diversifying games as much more than you are. Try to get down from 87% here to maybe like 60%, and that process is going to be painful at times, but it will help you keep your audience over time, like get to that consistency sort of standpoint, and that's pretty cool, I think. Let's see what it says. Yeah. Depends on your long-term perspective. You lose in the short term, and that hurts. How long does it take to rebuild as a variety streamer? So one thing that we've noticed for sure is it's easier to be a variety streamer like from the get-go than it is to suddenly become a variety streamer. The Minecraft people actually kind of learned this lesson painfully. Hey, Wild's hosting us, so perfect timing, actually. The Minecraft people learned this lesson a while back, that Minecraft numbers were insane. It was like Fortnite. It was just super hype. Everybody was there watching. Everybody loved Minecraft, and so audiences were huge. And what happened over time is Minecraft became less popular, right? Like games just become less popular, and that audience disappeared. So the Minecraft streamers noticed that, earlier than most people, right? They noticed they were getting less subs, they were having less viewers, all of that stuff. But if they had found ways to switch into variety earlier, they could have kept more of that audience over time. So a lot of them had a really big statistical drop and then had to rebuild from there in a painful way. Whereas Co, for example, actually used to, probably like 4 or 5 years ago, he would do one game for like a fairly long stretch. Like he played ArcAge for like 2 months, something like that. And, he would also say, is like, guys, I'm going to be playing this game for the foreseeable future. I don't know when I'm going to stop. And so at that time, he was acting a little bit more like a single game streamer, because he would go into a game that he could dominate, like he could be one of the big streamers, and he would collect all those viewers, which was, a good strategy. But in general, like someone like Co or Burke or Bikeman, they switch games a lot. And in switching games, you lose people every day, because there are some people who, hey, I just wanted to watch Elder Scrolls. You're not playing Elder Scrolls. I'm out, That's the reality. But everybody who stays, even though those viewers are hard won, they are much more valuable, because they're staying because they like you, not because they like the game you're playing. Nismo Spoolin, how you doing?
Yeah, I've definitely seen a couple different factors for when like games like viewership declines. It can't just be like losing popularity in a game. It could even be like games that are in the competitive scene. Like I say, like Overwatch is a big one. Viewership drops for a lot of like Overwatch streamers when the Owl League is going on, and that's when they look to stream something else, mainly because like the viewership is going to dip a lot. Yeah,
I mean, you always have to pay attention to the environment of Twitch. What's going on Twitch? If there's a giant tournament, like who's gonna watch you? It's like if the World Series is on, and then my like local baseball team's game is on public access, like ain't nobody watching the local Gomers play. Like everybody's gonna watch the World Series. And that's definitely true of competitive things. It's also true. We talk about a lot looking at the directory. So when you're gonna play a game, you're gonna stream a game, go and look and see who's there already. If you go, and this is gonna happen really soon again, it happens with every launch, but Red Dead Redemption is gonna be the next one where people are gonna learn a really painful lesson, that guess what? Everyone's gonna be streaming Red Dead Redemption, right? You're gonna have Lyric and Co and just all these huge streamers, and even the sort of mid-range streamers are going to be streaming it nonstop, and everyone's going to get a boost at the top. But so everyone wants to stream it, if you have 30 viewers and you stream Red Dead Redemption in the first week, you're not even going to appear on the page until you scroll. So no one's ever going to find you. So you might as well just play something else because, I mean, you might as well be playing nothing if you're that far down in the directory. And so looking at the directory is really important because imagine that Red Dead Redemption is coming out, like it just launched and nobody's streaming it. You know, you go stream it, you are going to get so many viewers. Like thousands of people are coming to Twitch just to check out Red Dead Redemption and see what it's about. So if you could be the only person streaming it, it would be fantastic. Like Ko was the only person streaming Fallout 4 for a little while. They gave it to him early, and his viewership was about 10 times what it normally is. So when you look at it that way, it doesn't have to be the biggest game. If you could run like the directory of a game that is healthy, that has good viewership, and be the top person in it, even if it's only 1% of the size of Fortnite, you'll still collect so many more viewers than you will by being, you know, the 9,000th channel down in Red Dead. That's why IRL streamers did so well for so long. Yeah, that's true. Their IRL didn't have anything big to sit on top of them. But now that IRL is developed, right, you have big IRL streamers that sit on top, right? Like when somebody like Andy Milonakis is on, right, you know, you kind of know that he's going to be soaking up a lot of the viewers. So you still have the same issue. It's just with a big tournament, you might as well not bother. Do we have directory analysis tools? Like, what do you mean by that? So like for us, it's funny because we work for streamers. We don't work for game companies or agencies or anything like that. So all the tools that we've built ourselves are things that we need to do our jobs, and they're all really focused on streamers and the kind of sponsored work they do and delivering that data. So we could almost certainly build the kinds of things that you're talking about. We just don't have a lot of use for it. So over time, we'll probably build it as a nice to have. You know, I'm assuming it's just which games are performing well. Like, you know, we can look at an individual game. Like, let me pull one up and then I can show you. Come on, buddy. Is that how I do it?
You gotta scroll up
Scroll up.
and then go to search.
I don't want to go to search.
Game.
Game. I'm gonna do a game I like. Damn it. We gotta make our interface slightly more user friendly, or at least slightly more Omid friendly.
Yeah, I think that's really what you
Yeah. You know, let me shut down Slack so you don't see all these weird things that our employees are posting. All right, so we should be good. Cool. So I just loaded up one of my favorite games, Faster Than Light, which is traditionally a pretty good one as far as like being a smaller streamer. Like, so if you look, we can see every day kind of how many people were watching it on average, how many total viewer minutes were generated. You know, we can look at how many unique streams there were, how many total hours were broadcast, and then the average rank, which doesn't have a cool animation like the other ones. Because the other ones, I was like, oh, this is neat. And then, you know, we can look at the rolling averages over time to see where things have existed. And you can see, like, look, streams, 1, 2, 1, 2. So there's not that many people streaming this game. So if you were to go into this game at any given time, you would be one of the bigger streamers. Now, how many people are out there watching is an important question to answer next. And then we have the ability to kind of filter things in different ways and search through. But, you know, we can look at, here's all the streamers in whatever time, 30 days that we're looking at, all the streamers that have played it. You know, so we can sort by how many hours played. Freddie CV freaking loves FTL. Well done. You know, who's the biggest person who's played in the last 30 days? Forsen. That's kind of surprising. I wonder how Forsen's stream did, so I'll add him down here and see. Oh, he actually did several little streams. Yeah, several little streams. So he must just kind of play it when he needs a break. And then, you know, here's, I was just showing that segment, but I can pull back and see the whole stream, right? So he's playing nothing, and then playing, oh, it's We Happy Few. That's weird that it doesn't pop it up there the way it does on the other stuff. Planet of the Apes, and then Faster Than Light. Don't know what I'm doing. But again, you know, and look, Forsen, even though he's playing all these different games, he's a good streamer. He understands his audience, and things are pretty much just going up the whole time. So, you know, we can look at all these different things. We can look at the total quantity of viewer minutes that a person generated. This is how we found out randomly that CoCarnage by himself was like something like 30 or 40% of all consumed content for the game Yakuza 0, which I thought was pretty hilarious, and so did Sega. But yeah, so these are kind of the tools that we have about directories. For us, again, it's not the most important thing about our job, but we do kind of analyze games a little bit because, you know, if you can find games that are disproportionately successful, we can recommend them to our clients and you know, kind of say, hey, like, here's some cool games. Can I look up SCO and the WoW? Oh, well, yes, SCO's stream was insane for those couple days. Let me do that, and then it's just SCO, right? SCO. Yeah, so he's done all right.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, so Scott, if you don't know him, he's one of the founders of Method GG. They just did the world first in WoW on the raid, and so you can see. We just go back. Let's just pull this giant spike out of here, and we see. Oh, look at how normal this is. You know, just a normal stream. You know, WoW probably had an update here, kind of spiked and got interesting. And then competing in this world first, he's had a few really good days. Bodie, how you doing, man? Nice to see you. And again, you can see like those world first streams like just dwarfing everything else. And again, SCO is very dedicated to WoW. It's just all he plays. So we would expect him to not see a ton of, not see the same numbers. Well, certainly not the same numbers as the world first. When he's playing other stuff, but it's pretty fun. Well, thank you for the gift sub, Nick. Really appreciate that, by the way. But yeah, these are some fairly bonkers streams. I think this was the most bonkers one, right? This is the one where he hit it. And you can see, they hit it, and then everyone leaves. Everyone is just done with it. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty cool thing, and I think actually that world firsts are one of the things that are really, really underrated as content on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually talking to a couple of WoW streamers last week about it. That's pretty cool. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, I agree, Vox Nostra. That is a cool idea. But yeah, so again, like these sorts of things don't happen very often, right? You can't count on having something like these world firsts to, you know, to sort of build around. But, you know, the rest of what SCO does is pretty consistently good. And so he's well positioned when he has this kind of opportunity to take advantage of it. And that's a really important thing about, you know, setting up your stream for the moments where you know you can succeed, like Gathalion and Broman, right? They do the same thing in Destiny, where they go after the world firsts in the raids, and you know they've gotten the world firsts in the past. And how do you figure out these rates? Well, so if you wanted to figure out the rate for the world first, then you would just look at a few examples of world firsts and calculate out and project what you think is going to happen. And in general, for things that are kind of high risk like that, I would tend towards a lower price with a bonus if certain goals are met. That way, you know, because like there's just no way to tell he's going to have 200,000 people watching, or you know whatever whatever the high number is. And he wasn't the only person on Method that was streaming this, so there were other folks, and in general, like WoW had like 300, 400,000 concurrent viewers. And so when you look at numbers like that, you can build a projection based out around it, and you just want to make sure to do the math. Do the math is really the answer to sort of all questions in this space. We actually need to run, unfortunately, because the day is not anywhere near over. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. We will definitely do more shows on rates. I think once we start poking around in the charts and talking about it, it's really a lot of fun, and hopefully you learn stuff, and we can kind of show you a little bit about how we think about this, and ultimately like how streamers can succeed with Twitch. I should be at TwitchCon this month, and a fair amount of the team should be as well. We haven't quite figured it out yet, but that is the current plan. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you, Zach, for hanging out with me, and we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, for those who know what I'm talking about. Have a good weekend, guys.
Bye, guys. Everybody.
Ow.